Hi, this is Greg Green from Flip School, and we're briefly describing what a lesson may look like. And one of the hardest things to do is to tell people exactly what a lesson looks like because we don't know the content area as well as maybe you do, but we can give you an idea of what a flip lesson would, the stations in which you might set up within a flip lesson. And then you can determine what skill and strategy you need to develop at that time, and also the content. So let me give you an example of what a flip room might look like and a lesson may look like. I thought one that's really effective was one in which my teacher did that now we start modeling after all our flip lessons. And so, um, the teacher started out with a large group instructional video. He wanted to ensure that everybody had seen the video, and so he showed it right at the beginning of class. And it was probably 2 to 3 minutes. But then what he did is he provided students instructions on the next step. And so the students knew exactly where they were going and what they were doing and what group they were in. So he provided them, names of what on the board of who was going where they're starting out, and the expectations of every single group. And so I think that's really important that students have directions, like if they're working collaboratively with one another, and they also have some reporting mechanisms out. And you can actually see the activity going on, and they're in close proximity to you if you're working with another group. So let's just kind of go back to our room arrangement, because when you see or look at our room arrangement, you'll see we have a teacher station, collaboration station, large group station, and then skill building station as well. So you're going to, students, 4 or 5 students may start in the teacher station and then move to the collaboration station, and then move to the large group independent station, and then move to the skill building station, and you just simply rotate. So let's take a look at our lesson. So the teacher sat with students, and students practiced describing what a cell does during the division process. And so the teacher would ask students questions, and they'd have to answer the questions. But the teacher was getting a general feel where the students were with the content. And they also had to provide a description or answer to questions. And the teacher just simply had a rubric that they checked off for the students, so you can kind of keep track of where the students are at. Then the students moved to a group activity, and that was a game in which a student draws a portion of the cell in which others are describing. So up on a board or on a piece of paper, students may be using words to describe this object or function of a cell, and the student would have to draw it out. And then students getting immediate feedback whether or not it's correct or not. And the teacher can also gauge in which the students are actively involved in the process, and they can, it's a game in which you can easily monitor. And then there's some independent work. Students went from a game to some independent work in which students would write 1 or 2 paragraphs on the cell division process, so that they can provide a step-by-step process, or kind of a scientific way to write things, or a step-by-step directions and so forth. And then they use a computer-based program to build their vocabulary skills. And so you need some sort of vocabulary to give a description. And then at the end, they did a formative assessment that kind of put it all together. Do you know terminology, cell terminology, what cell division is, and so forth. And short, quick, formative assessment, and then out the door. And so each station was about 10 minutes. The opening segment was about 5 minutes, and then the closing segment was 5 minutes. And then, the transition time was about a minute between each station. So, just a reminder you had reminders of what they're supposed to do at each station, and it was clearly students demonstrated that they could be on task, and did a great job, and the teacher did a great job. So that's just some feedback of what a lesson might look like in a flipped school or a flipped classroom. Thank you.